Hey guys, welcome to the 4P podcast. I'm your host, Michael Paterno, and today we have episode 92. And in episode 92, we have finding your identity, finding out who you are, finding out who you want to become, finding out how you're going to grow into who you become, taking a step back and trying to find that identity, trying to find where you think you're supposed to be, where you think you're supposed to fit in. I think this is something that's really good because I struggled with this for a long time when I lost my business in 2020. I lost my trucking business. I went out on my own in 2017, 2018, left the company I was at. I was a company driver. And when I was younger, when I was when I was driving for a company, I drove for a pretty big company for 8 years. I was a local driver in Dallas, and I was very indecisive. I, I was making poor decisions. I was making decisions based off of emotions and not based off of my commitments to the company or to my supervisors or to. I was a hard worker, worked 70 hours a week, every week, Monday through Friday, 12, 14 hours a day. That was never an issue, but it was always looking for something more, always thinking the grass was greener on the other side, always thinking that there was something else better out there. Um, Never feeling humbled in my situation, never feeling humbled. I was making, I started at that company at 22 years old. In my first year, I made almost $70,000 at 22 years old. No college degree, only a CDL, doubles and triples, hazmat and tanker endorsement, Class A CDL, driving 53 footers. And I made, like I said, I think I made like 68,000. 22 years old, no college degree, made $68,000, working 12, 14 hours a day, Monday through Friday. And I was never truly happy. I was never truly where I thought I should be. I always thought there was something more. But I didn't have Jesus Christ. I wasn't a follower of Jesus Christ. I believed in Jesus Christ, but I didn't follow Jesus Christ at that time. At that time, I probably had an unhappy relationship also with the woman that I was with. Um, but because I always thought there was something else that was better, I always, um, I always would make irrational decisions. Buy a truck. 6 months later, I don't want this truck anymore. I want a different truck. Get in an apartment, leave this apartment, break the lease, find a different apartment, need a better apartment. Always changing routes. Never could stay consistent on a route. Did 6 months did this route, 4 months did that route, 5 months did this route. Always trying to change something. Never got consistency. Um, never got familiar with anything, and it wasn't a good fit. And then with that trucking company, I wanted to be promoted to sales, and they would never promote me to sales. I was working with the sales team driving. We had at that time, the company that I was working with signed a big contract with Major League Baseball, and so they drew a name out of a hat for who we had to drive a brand new truck and a brand new trailer to like 22 home games for the Texas Rangers. So every time the Texas Rangers had a home game, we had designated games where I would drive the brand new truck to the stadium, park it on the sidewalk in front of the stadium, and then the sales team would meet me there. All the sales team from the whole entire Dallas location would meet me there. They would sell our services, introduce our services to people going in and out of the stadium. And then I would just sit there just talking to people. And eventually the sales team was like, hey, man, you really have a knack for sales. And at this point, I had been driving since 2010. I'd been driving for 7 years. And I was like, yeah, I said, that's really cool. I said, I would really like to do sales. I would like to put my name in the hat. So I put my name in the hat. And every time they had a sales training position, they would always hire somebody else. They would never hire a sales trainee. They would just hire another sales rep from another trucking company to come over and fill that position. And they would always just, oh man, you're a good driver. You're a good driver. I was a great driver. I never did anything wrong. I was always on top of my shit, very professional. Customers really liked me. I just always was like trying to find something else. I was always trying to look for something. And then finally, after like a year of trying to go to sales, it never happened. So I told them, I said, you know what? I'm buying my own truck. I went out, bought a truck, bought a trailer, and went out and made fucking more money than I ever could imagine. Made 200 grand my first year, over 200 grand my second year, and then moved to Florida. And then COVID hit, the trucking industry went down to shit, and I just lost everything. And probably made like 80,000 my last year. It's just not sustainable. And I went to go drive a truck for a big food chain, Costco, and I drove for them for 6 months, and I went from making $3, $4, $5, $6,000 a week to making $900 a week, and it like destroyed me. And that was around the time when I started building my relationship with Jesus Christ. And I just told myself, I was praying, and I was just like, I want a good relationship. I want a good relationship with a good woman. Or first off, I want a strong relationship with Jesus Christ. I want to be good at business. I want to be I eventually want to be a husband and a father. I want to be better in the gym, and I want to be healthier. And I want to find a good woman to share my life with and share my experiences with. And that, at that point, God just broke me down, and Jesus just broke me down, and I just started working towards that goal. And I had some hiccups along the way and some setbacks, but I felt like everything was pretty much a stepping stone to moving up, and then really finding that identity, and finding really what it was that I should be doing, or where I should be going, or where I should be heading. And it was just, you know, it was just a reality check. And I had lost everything. I had no fucking money. I had probably a little bit of money in the bank, maybe like 10 or 20,000 bucks, but nothing worth, like, nothing substantial to show for after starting a business and building a company. Well, I didn't even build a company. I ran a business and then failed, and then that was it. And I just had whatever was left over. The truck I had wasn't worth shit. It had 300,000 or 400,000 miles on it. The trailer, I was able to sell the trailer and recoup money from that because I paid it off. And so that was a good thing. And it was a reality check. And I just asked Jesus, I just said my prayers, I said, who do you need me to become? What man do I need to become to get back to this point? How do I get to becoming a husband? How do I get to becoming a father? How do I get to becoming a business owner again? And not just a business owner to run a company and then fail, but a person to hold on to that and actually steward that, so I can move forward in that realm. And when I ended up when I started going to that church I told you all about that I used to go to in Frisco, um, it wasn't all bad. I learned some things along the way, and I met my now wife at that time. She lived in Frisco and started going to that church, and I started going to the men's group. And there was some you take something from everywhere, but you have to be smart enough to identify the things moving around and identify the situations where you might hear corruption or see corruption, and you got to kind of take that in and be smart enough to be able to independently think, to be able to make these movements, and just be smart enough to be able to dissect, like, hey, like, yeah, there's some good things here. I learned a couple of good things. I got some good nuggets that I could apply to my life, but overall, I don't believe in this, or I don't agree with that, or whatever. So, so one of the things that I learned, there was a mentor there, one of the guys that led the men's group, and he always said, he always said, amateurs make decisions based off of emotions, and professionals always make decisions based off of commitments. And that really resonated with me, because in the past I had made decisions based off of my emotions, how I felt at that time, what was happening in my life. And I didn't have that relationship with God or Jesus. I wasn't in my Bible every day, and I wasn't associating with other like-minded men in my area. I was just dealing with the people, the fellow truck drivers that I worked with, and some guys really nice guys, and some guys just not my, not guys that I wanted to associate myself with, or build a friendship with, or anything like that. And you you see this, like, it's hard to do life with men, and I'm speaking to the men in this situation, ladies, but it's hard to do life with men who are not in the same alignment with you, who are not trying to be the best versions of themselves, or who are not trying to be the healthiest, or be the best father, or be the best husband, or or level up on their financial situation and maybe start a business, or do something, that's out of their comfort zone, do something hard, do something difficult. And that's one thing that I noticed at the church that I developed, was, like, you have to push yourself. You got to think outside the box. You got to really see where, um, you really got to see, like, what your limitations are as an individual. What can you really handle? What can you really become? What can you really grow into? And all this shit is scary. Like, it doesn't matter. It's all, it's all scary, but you have to train your mind and train yourself to be the most confident person that you can become, in order to grow into somebody who wants to be great at whatever it is. And this isn't just, I'm not just talking about going off and making millions of dollars. Like, could be anything. This could just be simply like, I want to be the best husband. I want to be, I want to achieve something in the gym that I've never done before. I want to be a better father. I want to deadlift 405. I want to squat 405. Well, if you're 5'2" and you weigh 300 pounds, you're probably not going to be able to squat 405. So who do you need to become in order to do that? What practices do you need to put into play in order to become that person? These could be, it could be very simple. Um, it could be very simple goals. It doesn't have to be like, oh, I want to start a business and make millions of dollars, or make $20 million. It could just be simple, like, I want to make sure I take my wife on more dates every month. I want to make sure I'm interacting with my kids more, an hour a day, every single day, and Monday through Sunday. Like, it could be anything that you want it to be. It just, you have to find the identity. You have to find the growth in your mind. In order, you have to be self-aware and tell yourself, okay, I want to do X. I want to do, we'll use deadlift as an example. Say you want to deadlift 405, and right now you can't even deadlift 135. Well, you have to be self-aware and say, well, I can't just put 405 on the bar and start deadlifting it because I'm still struggling to deadlift 135. So then you start talking to people. You start researching things. Maybe you're not eating enough protein. Maybe you find a podcast. Maybe you read a book. Maybe you're not involved in the right supplements. Maybe you're not sleeping enough. Maybe you're not hydrating enough. So then you start cracking down on all those things. And you build up 135, 155, 165, 200, 225, 250, 270, and you just keep working your way up. But each step along the way, you develop, you go outside of your comfort zone. Do I need to talk to somebody? Is there somebody who lifts heavier? If you see a guy lifting heavier than you in the gym, go talk to that guy. There's tons of YouTube videos. Go on the YouTube videos. Plug in the different areas where you need to grow. There's not much difference to deadlifting 405 as there is to say starting a company or going to work for yourself or becoming a better employee or becoming a better husband or becoming a better father or becoming just a healthier version of yourself. It all takes stepping stones. It all takes self-awareness and just saying to yourself, okay, I want to get there. So what do I need to do here to get to this point, to get to that point, so I can get down the road to where I want to go? It doesn't take rocket science. You're not reinventing the wheel. You're not putting a man on the moon. I mean, you could if you wanted to, but it's just a simple thing as far as just a simple thought process as, okay, and just being self-aware and just understanding who you want to become too. Being happy in your current state, praying, having that belief in Jesus, having that faith, having that belief and faith that the work that I put in, there's a good chance that I'm going to get there. And the work that I put in, I might fall short, but at least I'm falling short further down the road than where I was today. It's taken me 5 years to get back to this point. Now 6 years. I'm super grateful. I'm super happy. I'm exactly where I should be. And I knew in 2020, 2019, 2020 that I wanted to be at this point in my life. I wanted to be a husband. I wanted to be a father. I wanted to be a business owner. I wanted to be healthier. I wanted to be more physically fit, stronger in the gym, be a better business owner, be a good husband, I've been in plenty of relationships, but I can't say that I was the best version of myself and I knew how to fix those at the time because I didn't. I was in quite a few relationships and I didn't know how to fix them. And most of them, I blame myself for all of them. And that's okay. That's where I needed to be. I needed to go through those shitty, difficult times. I needed to make those horrible decisions to get to this point that I'm at today. And I think that I was driving. What was I driving? I think I was driving yesterday. And I just had so much gratitude just come over me. And I was just like, I'm so grateful to be in my situation and to just be able to work from home, just not even be a business owner. I'm so grateful to be a business owner. It's such a magical thing. It's such hard work, but it's so fun and so enjoyable. And it really takes a good mental toughness. And that's what I've developed over the past 5 or 6 years. I've always had a strong mental toughness because of the jobs that I've always done. I've always done mentally exhausting jobs and being a truck driver, you really have to think outside the box, and you really, 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 really have to be able to um, improvise and be able to pivot when you're on the road, because there's nobody to rescue you. It's just you by yourself. It's you in that truck. So it's up to you to figure out what you need to do to get out of the certain situations that you're in, no matter what part of the country you're in. And I was just so thankful, so grateful to be able to have this business, see my son, watch my sons watch me struggle, go through the struggle, take the late night phone calls, get up early, the horrors, the anything bad that might happen as far as like a driver, you know, getting stuck or just something that happens, having my sons be able to watch me handle these situations, these high pressure situations, and to watch them watch me handle these high pressure situations and just be able to be home, just to be able to work from home and be able to plug in with them, and just being able to, you know, get up extra early, start work extra early, and then if I need to go outside and throw the football at my son for an hour, I can do that. And those are important things. It's important to be able to plug in with my sons, go lift weights in the garage, have my sons come out there and maybe not even do anything, but maybe just be in the garage while I'm lifting. Have the garage door open. They're kind of just screwing around, close by the garage and just watching me lift weights, so that they see that they can see the things that their dad goes through. They can see the struggle of what it looks like to lift weights, and the struggle of building muscle, the struggle of running a business, the and not so much struggle, but just the hardships, the day ins and day outs, the ups and the downs. Because you have ups and downs in the gyms, you have ups and downs in business, but understanding who you are, having that confidence to be able to coach yourself, train yourself, be self-aware, push through the gym, push through business. And I think some of the greatest, I personally believe this. I think the greatest operators, the greatest entrepreneurs, the most successful athletes are the not are they just the most coachable, but they are the most self-coachable. They are very self-aware people. They can coach themselves. They know when they need to switch something. They know when they need to pivot. They know when something's not working. They don't need anybody to tell them to do something. This is something I was working on my son the other day. I was like, dude, you have to grow into understanding how to coach yourself. You have to push yourself. You have to be strong enough to push yourself, and maybe uh, try harder on that, or not try harder on that pass, but try a further pass. So we bought like a throwing net. So because he's been playing quarterback on his flag football team, so he on both of his flag football teams. So we bought him a 6 foot tall by 5 foot wide, throwing net. It's got different holes in it, or different nets where the ball can land in. And it's about pushing yourself to make a 5 yard pass, then make a 10 yard pass, and a 15, and then try a 20 and a 25 and a 30 yard pass, and just try deeper passes and push yourself. And then when you don't complete a pass, like, okay, what did I do here wrong? Is my arm coming too low? Is my arm up too high? Is my hips not turning to where the target is? And then you're being self-aware. You're breaking down your mechanics so you can figure out what you need to do to make the adjustments to be able to make that throw. Well, if you're trying to deadlift 405 and you're sleeping until 10 o'clock in the morning, you're probably not going to be able to deadlift 405 because you're not making the adjustments to figure out what you need to do. You're not breaking down your mechanics to figure out what you need to do in order to go deadlift 405. But I really enjoyed this episode. The ability to pivot, the ability to coach yourself, the ability to be self-aware of your surroundings, self-aware of yourself, um, the ability to make the adjustments for yourself. I think those are all crucial things. And then finding, um, finding gratitude in the areas where you are now, and then trying to figure out where you want to go and who you need to become in order to get there, and how you need to apply that self-awareness back to yourself to figure out, okay, if I'm trying to get there, these are all the steps I need to take in order to get there. These are the things I need to plug in along the way so I can make that happen. Guys, I appreciate you. Thank you so much for listening to episode 92. It will be available on Spotify, YouTube, and Apple Podcasts, so y'all could check it out. And y'all have a blessed day. Appreciate you.